Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you and your family cruise a little smarter when the ship starts sailing. And we are turning back to our port adventure series. We are going to be covering the beautiful port of Nassau. And I'd like to welcome to the show tonight, all the way from Atlanta, good friend of the show, Zach. How you doing today, Zach?
Good. How are you, Steve?
Not too bad. You're one of the few people I actually got to meet on a ship. And so it's kind of cool to be able to connect with you here again.
Yeah, definitely.
Unfortunately, that was a while ago.
Yeah, it was. But hey, it's fun meeting, voices from the internet, people you talk to through for the internet. So yeah, I was had a great time meeting you and On Awake, having a drink, not winning trivia.
No, it was, we were probably dragging the room down that night too. So. Okay, well, we're going to turn today to Nassau. This is a much maligned port. Beloved by hopefully many people. I know that you've obviously spent a lot of time there, and I really appreciate you reaching out. I've only been there once. I'm going to lean on you quite a bit. But before we jump into that, why don't you give everybody kind of your Disney background or your Disney cruising background, some of the cruises you've been on, your favorite ones?
Yeah, so I have been on 11 Disney cruises, 15 total cruises. Started, 2016? Yeah, 2016, went on my first cruise for my honeymoon. Wife and I, we like Disney. We go to Disney World all the time. We figured, hey, Disney cruising's kind of expensive, and it's our honeymoon, so let's go. And then we just created a really expensive hobby because we were platinum by 2020. So yeah, I've been on all 4 ships, been on most of the Caribbean itineraries. And fun fact, I was on the very last sailing of the Magic when DCL shut down.
Oh my gosh. Why did we not have you on? Because now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't know that you were on that. Rebecca was.
No, I actually was on. If you want to hear about it, I was on Cruise Radio about that.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I do remember hearing that one. Okay. Yeah. A year of COVID has got my brain kind of like, anything stand out as far as that goes? We just watched The Last Cruise on HBO, where they're talking about the Princess Pearl, I think it is, where it was the first one where the COVID had an outbreak on it, which obviously the Magic didn't, but anything stand out for you? Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah.
Nothing specific really. It was nice for us, and that was, like I said, we've done 11 Disney cruises, so that was our first platinum cruise. So that really would have stunk if we got platinum and then had all the upcoming cruises canceled, and we're like, we're never going to get that lanyard. Well, we got the lanyard.
I wonder what do you think they're going to do? I mean, do you think they're going to give lanyards out still when things start out?
I didn't even think about that. There's another thing to talk about. Wonder. I hope so. There'll be some angry people if they don't get their lanyards.
I think they got to do something, because I know all of us in the Disney cruising community, or most of us, are pretty proud of whatever rank whatever part you're on in the Castaway Club. So
definitely, I didn't take off my lanyard almost that entire cruise. I never wore my silver ones. My gold one, I wore it here and there if I needed something to be like if I was at a port and wanted my license and all that close to me. I kept that in a little case. But yeah, that platinum one, it was always on.
So I don't know if I'll leave this in the show or not, but okay. I had one experience with my gold lanyard on where I went down, and I can't remember, I was doing something at the customer service desk, and there was a bunch of people in front of me in line, and then there's me who had a gold lanyard, and then there was somebody behind me that had a gold lanyard, and one of the officers came over and brought us over to the desk, over to the side, and said, "Hey, what do you need? Let's take care of it, and we'll get you taken care of." And I think I just needed to drop something off, so it was no big deal. And I wouldn't have mind waiting or anything like that. But I think it just goes to show that they do recognize people like you and I and everybody else that probably listens to this podcast. They go back to the cruises over and over again. They do recognize kind of you're a valuable customer to them. So
no, yeah, I noticed that because this being my first time with a platinum lanyard, I actually noticed multiple people say, "Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back." I'm like, oh, this is nice. I've never gotten this before. So
yeah, and not that every guest is not important, but I know that like in my industry with the airline, the flight attendants get like a list of who we've got these things like MVP Gold and these million miler things and everything like that, and so they know that. So who they are when they come on board, they kind of they generally go out of their way to give them a little extra attention. So.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think they got to figure. I'm sure they'll figure out a way to somehow do that. Okay, well, let's turn to Nassau. Nassau is down in the Bahamas, and it's generally featured on pretty much every dream cruise. The Wonder goes there right now out of New Orleans. Looking up the 2022 sailings, the Magic out of Miami, and I couldn't find the Fantasy going to Nassau at all. Do you have any recollection on that?
It was supposed to go there on that double dip that was canceled last year, if I had to guess.
Right. Yeah. This is why I need Christy.
Isn't that the one that Christy was supposed to go on and held out hope until the last minute?
Yeah, it was. So I think the Fantasy goes there, but not very often. But the main ship into Nassau is the Dream, and then obviously, like I said, the Wonder out of New Orleans right now, Magic out of Miami. I'll just give a quick overview of Nassau. This is from Cruise Critics website. It says, with its blend from West Africa, England, Haiti, and the U.S., makes Nassau one of the most popular and congested cruise ports in the Caribbean and the Bahamas. Nassau is also the capital of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It's located on a 21-mile long Providence Island, which is connected by a bridge to Paradise Island. Nassau features, and I think I didn't know we're going to talk about this tonight, but I'm glad we are. Nassau features Vegas-type casinos, and you've had some time there, it sounds like. A decent range of duty-free shopping, soft-sanded beaches, and some of its main points are they have a massive hotel and resort complexes like Atlantis, which features beaches, boating adventures, water parks, dolphin encounters, and the good old booze cruise.
Yeah.
So, a little overview of Nassau. What are your thoughts of Nassau, Zach?
So I definitely am the person to like your cruise person that cruises often to set, like I hear Nassau and roll my eyes at it. But like I've told you, I've done some excursions there and you can have fun at Nassau so like, I guess what I'm saying is like, if you can only do a 3-night cruise, but you want to do something else besides go to Castaway and Nassau is your only option, there are fun things to do there. I think part of it is, unfortunately, when you get off the ship and that straw market is very dirty, I think that can give the wrong impression of it. And also B, I think the thing is like the fact that the quote unquote only thing to do there is go to Atlantis, which that's not true, but it is a misconception. I think also that like can give it the bad rap that it has. But yeah, if you want to do fun things in Nassau, you can do them, whether it be through DCL or any other cruise lines excursion website. If you want to go do stuff on your own, it's a little harder, but it can be done. It's just all about what it is that you're looking to do. And I've done a little of it all.
You make some really good points there about getting off of the straw market, being kind of a little rougher section. So if that's all you do is get off and see that, then it may kind of turn you off to Nassau a little bit. I think like you said, I think Nassau kind of gets not just from our podcast, and I don't think we bust on Nassau too much, but a lot of other podcasts, people just start because it goes, so many ships go there so many times. But you said something that I didn't really think of. One, I was super surprised how many different things there are on Disney's website to do in Nassau as we're kind of preparing for this show. There are a lot of different things you can go to, from private islands that are beyond Atlantis. And two, I never really thought about it. I mean, all the cruise lines cruise to Nassau. So you could go to Norwegians or Royal Caribbeans or, celebrities or whoever else is to kind of, just get some other ideas. I've never really thought about that. That's a good technique.
Yeah, definitely. And just let me know like what order you want me to go in, as far as so I'm not all over the place. As far as like what I've done, because I've done Atlantis, I've done Blue Lagoon, just walked around. So yeah, just you tell me what order so I don't just spit out all
No, we'll just go one by one. But let's start with this is what we did. And I totally understand why a lot of people stay on the ship. I've only been there once. It was a 3-day on the Dream, and we're going to be in Castaway Cay. And so we hadn't been on the Dream before. So we just wanted to spend time on the ship. And I think that a lot of people feel that way, especially on those 3-day cruises, is like, I really want to spend some time on the ship and really experience it. So you will find, at least our experience, and you can speak more to this, Zach, is that probably half the people don't get off to do things in Nassau. So it's not really like you have the ship to yourself like other sailings. It's a pretty busy day on the ship, isn't it?
No, yeah, I noticed that too. The first time, my first ever cruise, went to Nassau, and it was my first time in the Bahamas, the Caribbean period. So I had to get off the ship. Second cruise, which was 4 or 5 months later, was a 3-night, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to stay on the ship, and had the whole ship to myself, and I was like, oh wow, I do not have the whole ship to myself.
It's kind of like a sea day almost, really.
I mean, right, exactly.
Yeah. Any tips or advice for staying on the ship in Nassau? Any things that you've done or a better way to do it?
No, just if you're going to stay on the ship, just have the expectation that it's a glorified sea day, at least with DCL. I've also gone to Nassau through Carnival and through Royal before. Royal was still about 50-50. Now, the Carnival ship, we had it to ourselves. So if you ever go to Nassau on a Carnival ship, you might have it to yourself. And I mean, part of that is because more casual every few years cruisers, their go-to is, I'm going to go on a cruise for the first time ever or every 5 years. Let's just book Carnival. There's a little less thought into that, and that's my guess as to why.
That makes sense. We were parked talking about being congested. We were parked right next to a Royal Caribbean ship, so that as we're hanging out up on the deck and the pool deck at part of the afternoon, you could see what was going on over at the ship next door to you and watch what was going on in their funnel vision type thing. Well, they had a big screen by the funnel or by the pool and stuff was going on there. So, yeah. Okay. Well, okay. So kind of expect it to be kind of a glorified sea day, maybe a little less people, but it's going to be busy if you spend, but still, I mean, fun. It's fun to be on the Disney ships, right?
Yeah. You're on a cruise ship.
Yeah. It's still a good time. Okay. So let's get off and head on. Any thoughts on the straw market just itself as far as
straw market? I mean, so there's one thing I specifically would always do when I went to Nassau is before I had prescribed glasses, I would get my sunglasses from Nassau. The one thing you can always get is quote Ray-Bans and quote Oakleys. I call them Oakleys, but yeah, you can get fake sunglasses. So I used to that was just my thing. I was like, I'm going to buy fake Oakleys or fake Ray-Bans. You can always negotiate the price. I can walk out with a $30 pair of Oakleys. So that was my personal thing that I would always do. But yeah, I mean, other than that, obviously they have a lot of cultural stuff. So, just a lot of junk kind of trinkets, kind of stuff like that.
Do you barter with them back and forth with the price? Yeah. Okay.
They will always haggle with you. So just kind of have that in mind. They have if you go a few blocks out past the straw market, that's where some of the local restaurants are. Now, this is not me, but if you're into super expensive name brand that's duty free and tax free, they have a Gucci store. You can buy expensive watches, all that kind of stuff. And then also the pro tip, it's not just haggled. They will come at you trying to sell you stuff. They are very aggressive there. So if you don't know that, it can be overwhelming. Obviously, the taxis are going to be the main people trying to get you. But once actually, now this didn't happen in the straw market, but when we were just walking through the shops, the couple blocks right outside of the straw market, FYI, don't go past those because apparently it's a little dangerous of an island if you go past the touristy area. But a lady I don't even remember if she was hanging outside a store or whatever, but she waves at us and we're like, hello. And she gives us a bracelet. She's like, bracelet for the nice lady. And she ties a bracelet around my wife's wrist. And she's like, it's completely free. And I was like, oh no. And I was like, oh, too late. She's got that bracelet around Francis's wrist. And so my wife, Francis, is like, well, that was so nice of you. She's like, yep, my kids worked on it themselves. I'm like, oh, here it comes. And, this is how we make our living. So it is free, but really we appreciate tips. And yeah, she threw in, she's like, this is how we make our living, no other income, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, looks like we're giving her $20. So nothing is free is my point. But also at the same time, yeah, I know like there is some level of honesty to that, in that like these people rely on tourist dollars. So yeah, I know like it can be overwhelming, but at least keep in mind that they're hopefully not just trying to pinch pennies out of you. This is actually what they, do, how they put food on their table.
Some good points there. One of the you can find this in Europe too. When we were in Italy, in Rome, there was a lot of places like there. And I guess to your point, like if you get avoided when they're trying to hand you something, don't ever take it. Don't ever take it, because then you're going to have to haggle and get them to give it back. And I know this can be hard, pick your moments and what you want to support around the world. Everybody needs some help, whether it's buying something from a local shop or whatnot. But if you don't want to be drug into it, I just don't make any eye contact and keep walking by. And I know that can be hard sometimes for us as Americans if you're friendly, but that's the easiest way to get past some of those situations. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on from the straw market. You've walked around before and gone to the casino. We'll do the adult stuff first. So, how was it just walking around Nassau, and then kind of talk about going to the casinos?
Yeah. So, like I said, you don't really want to go past like 2-3 blocks out, because unfortunately, it is a big, it's not a safe place. As far as going past, there's some restaurants, none specific that I've tried. There is a Senor Frogs, which that is the place. If you want to go party, that is the place to go party. I've never been there, but I've seen some videos from friends that did go and have fun. But that is the place if you want to go party.
Not a kid's place. Don't go there with your family.
No. If you're on a Disney cruise with some carnival spirit in you, then you want to go. Then you go to Senor Frogs. You'll have a good time. And no judgment. Don't get me wrong. No judgment at all. No. I'm all down for having fun. But so there's that. As far as casinos, that I recommend going to Atlantis. You have to take a taxi. That's usually depending on how many people go with you. If you can split it with people, blah, 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 blah. That's about $10. But yeah, then I'll just go to Atlantis for just to go to their casino. Reason being that specifically, it's very touristy. It's safe. They're out to get you for tourists like us. So, it's going to be a real casino experience if they're out to, take our money and nothing sketchy. So yeah, that I recommend doing that. I've done it. Like I said, I've done that a couple times. I'm not a big gambler, but I enjoy time at a blackjack table. And, you're not going to be able to get that with Disney. So that's your opportunity to go. So yeah, I've done that a few times. I had some fun.
Is there more than one casino, or is Atlantis? It sounds like it's like the perfect place to go, though. Just the ambiance and everything else, the safety of it. All right, let's go into some of the other ones. I don't know which one's your favorite one. Why don't we save that one for last, if you want to think about that in your brain. But from there, have you booked most of these through Disney or through the cruise lines, or have you generally just done them yourself?
Yeah, so all of the excursions I've booked have been through Disney and Royal, one of which next time I would book independently, but I'll get to that. So the ones that we've done, 2 have been at Blue Lagoon Island. That's about a 10-15 minute catamaran ride out. So you get off the ship and then you'll board a catamaran. Out.
Unless that's your favorite one, let's just run with that. Run with that one.
It's not my favorite. It was
okay.
Fun.
Let's just run with Blue Lagoon. What'd you guys do for that? And you keep going. You said you take the catamaran. I'm sorry.
You take the catamaran out, and it's fun because you have a guide, and you pass all of like the American celebrities' house, like giant houses. So it's cool. You get to see like Oprah's house. I get to see like Jay-Z and Beyonce's house, and you're just like, oh man, this is nice. I wish I had this as a vacation home. So that's fun. And then so you get to Blue Lagoon Island. Blue Lagoon, it's like It's honestly probably a quarter of the size of Castaway, maybe a little bigger. And there's multiple options for excursions there. And I'll tell you which ones I've done. You can do your beach day. You can do, they have the dolphin excursions, the sea lion excursion, and the, what are they called? Oh man.
Stingrays?
Stingray. Thank you. I was like, I kind of wanted to say sea rays. I was like, that is incorrect. But yeah, they have that. I don't know as far as like, they also have some of those like, the beach trampolines or like in the water, those kind of like play things or whatever. I don't know if that's included, but they do have those as well. When you get there, they obviously take you to your excursion. I've done 2 there. First one I did was the dolphin encounter, not to be confused with the dolphin swimming experience. So the swimming experience is, and you'll see people doing it. You're actually out like having the dolphin swim with you, and they like you get on like a boogie board and they like push you on the boogie board. That just wasn't in our budget, and that's why we didn't do that one. Where the encounter was. So what the difference with the encounter is, you are still up close to a dolphin. You actually you get to touch the dolphin, you get to give it a kiss. It's really fun. They tell you to like hold its flippers, and it like dances with you, it talks to you, stuff like that. If you don't want to pay the bigger dollars for the full on swim, I was completely satisfied, and not just satisfied, like I thoroughly enjoyed the regular encounter. And then obviously at the end, they try to sell you a bunch of pictures.
Of course. What are the crowds like? I'm looking at the picture of it on Disney's website for the Blue Lagoon Island. What are the crowds like when you go over there?
It's not bad at all. And the reason is because, to my knowledge, the only people that are there are cruise ship passengers. So it's literally like people that bought through the cruise line. And again, I could be wrong. This is just based on when I was there and what my observations were. So like literally you get off your catamaran, and they're immediately just separating people into whatever excursions that they signed up to do.
I noticed some of the excursions included food. Did you guys get food out there too, or?
I want to say for the dolphin one, we did not. But the second one we did, which was the VIP adult beach break, we did. And if the letters VI and P are going to be there, then we better be getting food. But no, I do I was looking at, I'll talk about that, but it is funny because you had DCL's website pulled up. I was looking at it earlier, and I did notice like a significant jump in price from just like a regular family beach day to the adult only VIP beach day, which I remember not paying a huge jump. It was like food, lunch being included, being the deciding factor, which this was, when was this? Oh, it was the cruise that you and I met on. So October 2019. So, and things could have changed. So I don't know. That was the reason why we chose that one, was to have lunch included and also just get a Serenity Bay in Nassau, basically.
So anything else included with the VIP? It sounds like you had to go to it keeps the families maybe and all the screaming kids away from you.
Yeah, so we got to go to a secluded beach. Obviously, lunch was included.
Did it have cabanas, or did you just have chairs? Or
yeah, they had chairs and all that. They did have. I'll get to that. They had hammocks. Okay. We got priority boarding on the catamaran, and they gave us snacks on the catamaran. It was just a granola bar, but and I was like, and I noticed how self-conscious I was about the words VIP. They're like, excuse us, VIP this way. And I was like, I'm not that important of a person. Okay. But yeah, the beach, like I said, it was secluded. As far they had hammocks, but the hammocks weren't on the beach itself. So you have the beach, and then there's like this little area of hammocks like in the shade, and it's right by the dining area. So, my wife and I hung out at the beach for a couple hours. We went and had lunch, and I told her, I was like, I am so tired. I'm so tired. I'm going to go lay in that hammock over there for about 15, 20 minutes, Steve, I slept for 2.5 hours. It was actually the best nap I've ever had in my life.
I love it.
It was just like perfect temperature because it was in the shade. It wasn't like burnt, beach naps can be fun, but sometimes you're just like, oh, this is too hot. So it was perfect in that way. Even though it was in the shade, I didn't get cold. And granted, this was in October, so that also helped with the weather. But like, I remember like waking up and looking at my clock and I'm like, oh my God, how long have I been asleep for? Apparently the server had my wife said that she was like kind of starting to worry. I mean, she knew that I was tired. She could just tell. But like she said that one of the servers, like the drink servers, walked by and was like, your wife is out there your husband's just out there drooling, mouth wide open, all that. And she's like, sounds right. So yeah, when I got back, she's like, you feel good? I was like, I feel excellent.
I love it. Sounds like the perfect thing that you need to do with the waves breaking and in the warm Caribbean or Bahamian weather. So how about the water for families with maybe smaller kids? Are the waves very big or is it pretty easy for smaller kids?
No, it's super, chill, kind of like you see in most of the Bahamas and the Caribbean. You're going to get the clear water, but you're not going to get waves. So, but like I said, they have like those like the trampolines and all those kind of beach toys out there. I don't know if it's included. Get back to me in a few years once my son's older and we actually take him on on these kind of excursions with us. Oh, and one thing to throw in, because it is primarily, if not exclusively, cruise passengers there, they actually have a board by it's like a chalkboard by where you go to get on catamarans by that port pier, whatever. And it says like the ships that are in port that day and what time they're leaving, so that what time it is that you need to, get back to Dodge.
All right, let's turn to Paradise Island. Actually, this is the one that is it Paradise Island?
Yeah.
Okay, let's turn to Paradise Island. What'd you guys do there?
So we went to Atlantis. This was on our first ever cruise. I'm a big fan of water parks. So let me just disclose that as far as why this is my favorite. And like my wife is disgusted by water parks. And I know a lot of people are just like, water parks are staph infections waiting to happen. And I get it, but I have fun. So Atlantis has its own water park called Aquaventure, and I mean it is excellent. It is so fun, and I didn't even get to do everything there. It's very unique in that a lot of the slides don't even have lines, and it'll be interesting to see how this is post-COVID, but they don't even have lines. Instead, the water park is a giant lazy river, so that the lazy river will take you from slide to slide in some circumstances. And I mean, yeah, there are some slides that you still have to wait in line, business as usual. But yeah, that's honestly one of the things that makes it stand out. And also they're just really good, fun slides there. I wish there is one if you like, just a slide that does a straight drop. They do have that, which I regret not doing. Biggest reason why is because as you go down that, it takes you through a shark tank. So you literally finish and you're just surrounded by sharks. So yeah, that's kind of cool. I will say too, this is actually kind of funny. If you get seasick on small boats, then the lazy river might get to you, because there's one specific section where they kind of create the flow of it. So that small section will get to you, especially that was our first cruise. Obviously, first cruise, you're scared you're going to get seasick. I was, we go through the first day without getting seasick. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm not going to get seasick. I'm good. Out of nowhere, I started feeling seasick in the lazy river. And I'm like, wow, what is wrong with me? I've been on a ship and I've been completely fine. And now I'm suddenly seasick. Is it all catching up with me? What's happening? And then I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, like it's from the stupid thing that's like creating the flow of the lazy river. I am legit seasick just from that. And it's not surprising because small boats, even though cruises don't bother me, small boats do. So,
yeah. So maybe it's just that smaller movement of water versus the bigger ones on the boats.
Exactly.
Had you been there more than once, or did you? I can't talk. Did you just go the one time to the aqua park?
Yeah, I've just been there one time to the aqua park. Reason being is because sometimes we do want to make our Nassau Day a sea day. Sometimes, and we want to try something else like Blue Lagoon. Also, it is expensive. So that's, I have it. Or do you have it pulled up? I could.
It's $161 for this is that's for a half day. If you go the full day for just the Aqua Venture, this includes lunch, I guess it's 204 for 10 and up, 146 for 4 to 9. And Ezra could go now between 0 and 3 for free. So
yeah. So next time I'll go, I'll have to make sure I bring my son before he turns 3. So that's also part of why we don't go back, because that's a lot of money to go to a water park. Especially in Atlanta, we have the Whitewater in our backyard, and that's nowhere near as expensive. And, outside of being in the Bahamas, I can have just as much fun there. And so, you kind of talked about that's how much it is on Disney's website. You can do it straight through Atlantis's website. Again, parentheses, things are probably different with COVID, but normal world, it's an option. And I don't know exactly how much you can save, but I mean, you can save at least $20, $30 a person by just buying the day pass through Atlantis's website. If I had to do it again, I would probably just go straight through Atlantis. And here's why: not only money, also factor in, though, you'll have to pay for a taxi if you don't book it straight through Disney. There were a couple of things. Biggest one was that I never felt like I was on my own time. And I think I lost hours, at least an hour, maybe 2 there for that reason. And I'm sure this isn't usual, like this was a one-off, but when we went to the Walt Disney Theater to wait, for the person with the Aladdin sign or Minnie Mouse sign, whatever, to come and, walk us out to the gangway, there was something going on with Atlantis and their communication with Disney to where like we waited an extra 45 minutes to even get off the ship. And I mean, Disney told us, they're like, this is an issue with Atlantis. This isn't us. We apologize, blah, 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 blah. But in theory, had I been able to just get off the ship and go, I would have been there at least 45 minutes early. Also, and this is just something to keep in mind, if you do want to book through the cruise line, they will insist on giving you a mini tour of Atlantis so that you come back and spend money afterwards rather than taking you straight to the water park. And obviously you can leave that. You don't have to stay for that, but it's just something to keep in mind because they walk you through the casino, they show you where the shops are, and then they take you to the water park. And so, yeah, between saving money that little bit, I'll probably just go on my own. And yeah, I'll have to buy my own lunch too. So something else to think about as well.
They might have a package for you too, even lunch lunch in the day there just through the hotel. I guess something to note, just like you said, this hotel is huge. You can see it from the ship when you're parked there, and just massive. But not only do they have the water park, but they have, kayaking with dolphins and paddleboarding with dolphins, and then the casino that you can just do a beach day. There is many different ways that you can spend your time and your money at Atlantis. I guess just word to the wise, you can go to Disney's website to start with. You probably go to Atlantis' website too and see what they have to offer. But there's a lot of different ways that you can pair your day. So you don't just have to go to the water park.
Exactly. Now I know they also have I believe an aquarium there. I think so. So I've heard that it's not the greatest aquarium ever, but it's still cool. This is also an example of me being spoiled, being from Atlanta. We have a giant aquarium that's really neat. So the aquarium.
I'm sorry, I keep stepping on you.
Other aquariums, I'm I can drive 30 minutes and go see some beluga whales and what's it called? Shark whales or whale sharks. So probably what you have isn't as cool as what I can do at home, but that's a personal thing. So yeah, if you don't have an aquarium in your backyard, it's worth looking at. I think I've never been there. A pro tip though, and this is easier now than it was in 2016, have a waterproof watch with you because there are not clocks in that water park at all. We also lost time because we were paranoid about getting back to the ship. So, or now, all Apple Watches, most phones now are water resistant, if not waterproof. something to keep in mind. Have a way to tell time.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then you can get those like plastic things too, the kind of covers for your phone, so that if you want to have that with you the whole time, taking pictures or whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, did we miss any of the adventures you've done?
Nope, that's everything.
Okay. Awesome. Well, let's jump into, we'll kind of go through this kind of quickly, but if you were on the Beautiful Dream today, pulling it into NASA, what would you want to do looking through Disney's excursions? What did you pick out, Zach?
Well, my sarcastic comment is that if I were on the Dream today, I would be staying on the Dream. I'm just happy to be back on a cruise. But no, seriously though, if I was going to like looking over them, there were two that stood out to me. One, I'd probably be going by myself because my wife had no interest in this, but there's a pirate museum and Fort Charlotte. So I thought that sounded really cool. I'm a history guy. I got my degree in history, so I enjoy museums. A lot of times, I think especially with Nassau, the history behind Nassau is overlooked more so than a lot of the Caribbean islands that like are more rich in history, or like the long-term effects of their history is more apparent today, kind of like St. Martin, where it's half French and I think half Dutch. And yeah, you just don't find that in Nassau. And Nassau has been, I'm guessing they have a pirate museum. I would think they've had a lot of pirate history. So I think that would be really cool to learn about because I don't know anything about it. The only thing about that, looking at Disney's website now, it says that starts at $190. So that better be a really cool pirate museum because that's a lot of money for a museum.
Yeah. They must be adding something else onto it as well. Yeah. So.
And then something I actually, one of my table mates on a previous cruise did this, and they had a lot of good things to say about it. They do Jeep adventures that it says 102 from age 5 to 9, 150, 10 and up, which, I mean, I know that's not quite the same as having like your own private tour, but what I'm given to understand is you get a tour guide and you're in like a caravan of Jeeps and you can hear your tour guide and they just take you to different cool places. And I think the one I'm looking at includes a stop at the beach to hang out for probably an hour or two. So I think that's probably would be my go-to if I'm getting off the ship, I have to get a gun to my head, pick an excursion. I think that's probably the one that sounds most neat to me as far as value. Like I just can't get past the cost of the pirate ship.
The pirate museum.
Yeah, $190 to go to a museum.
Well, I'm pulling it up right now just to take a look at it and see what. So you meet your guide, 35-minute tour to downtown, stop at Fort Charlotte, British colonial era fort. Next, continue to the famous Pirate Museum. Family-friendly museum has interactive exhibits where you learn about pirates, spend 45 minutes viewing the life-size replicas of the ship.
Wow. And then
it all sounds cool, but holy cow, that's a lot seriously
of money.
That is super pricey to go see two museums.
Spend that much money, that's fine. I could do adult, like not the interaction. Well, maybe the interaction was that much, but anyway, I could go play with a dolphin for that much money.
Yeah, I think this one you might be able to do cheaper. Well, I'm guessing that you would probably be able to do this one cheaper on your own if you.
Yeah, I assume that, but yeah,
maybe not. Okay, I like the Jeep idea too. Chris did that in Tortola, and he and Seth had a great time going around the island, seeing a lot of the different vistas and whatnot. So a great way to explore the island and maybe see some places that you wouldn't normally see on that Jeep adventure. I like that one.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go with our generic catamaran, sail, and reef snorkel. I think we did that in Grand Caymans and just loved it. It's only like a half day excursion. So you kind of get out, get on the catamaran, sail on out to they have a couple different reef options depending upon the weather. Mm-hmm. You get about 45 minutes of snorkeling and then some food and drinks on the way back, or some snacks and drinks on the way back. So
you can't go wrong with snorkeling. It's fun because that's actually another thing I feel like I should do as soon as I get back on a cruise ship, because like we snorkeled so many times, like our first 5 cruises, that like I haven't snorkeled in 4 years. So because it's like beat it, like just kept doing it until we got sick of it and haven't done it since. So now I'm like, all right, let's do that.
Time to go back. I don't know. That's just like, to me, that's like, for our family, that's like, we like doing something a little active, which is cool.
Yeah.
And this Quintus, we don't have a boat at home. So, being on a catamaran like that, sailing through the Bohemian waters would be kind of cool. The other one I picked out, and this is more like, this sounds like a Castaway Key Day, Pearl Island beach escape with a lunch. So, and snorkel adventures. You go there, you snorkel actually for 45 minutes around some of their coral areas, and then the rest of the day you just get to hang out on the beach, get some lunch, and it sounds like an amazing day at Castaway Key. So
oh yeah, definitely. How much is that one?
that one actually wasn't too bad. Let me look it up here quick. Yeah, so it's not too bad. I mean, Castaway Keys included, but this gives you lunch, out to the small little island, kind of like the Blue Lagoon. There's a lighthouse out there. It's pretty small, so you're not going to, I don't think it's going to be overly, I would assume it wouldn't be overly crowded. It'd be kind of an easy day, 5.5 to 6 hours. It's $89 for 10 and up and 54 for ages 3 to 9. So
Oh yeah, I would pay that. That's not bad at all.
yeah. For, boat ride out there, lunch, and then just kind of a fun day in the sun. So
Yeah.
I think we go with one of those two. Depends
Yeah.
on what we're feeling. So
Yeah. Well, especially that like a lot of snorkeling excursions I've done have only been snorkeling, that being beach plus snorkeling. That, yeah, I would
Yeah.
definitely, that's good value in my opinion.
Well, as we kind of finish up, Zach, you've put a lot of tips along the way as we've kind of talked. Any final thoughts about Nassau, or for people that are going there for the first time or have been there and have never gotten off the ship?
Yeah, it's worth a try. There are fun things to do there. I know cleanliness is a thing. Atlantis is expensive, touristy, all that. Go to Blue Lagoon. It's a whole different feel at Blue Lagoon. I'm interested. You said the other one was called Pearl Island?
Yeah, Pearl Island was down at the very end of the excursions. I don't know if it's new or not, but the island's not new, but I'm not sure if it's a newer excursion that they're offering.
Yeah, but that's intriguing. If you are like me and you're super into water parks, Aquaventure is a can't miss. It's expensive, but it's a can't miss in my opinion. Like I said, you can go to Atlantis to gamble. If also you're like me and you miss the casino a little when you're on a Disney ship, well, there you go. There you go. You can have a day of gambling right there for you. It actually is funny because I did notice that, like, especially like middle-aged men, like half of the middle-aged men in that casino were wearing Disneyland. So, whatever that says about that demographic, interpret it as you want.
Well, thanks, Zach, for coming on and helping us explore Nassau a little bit. I think it's a much maligned, unfortunately, in sort of the cruising world, as far as just because the ships go there so many times, and some people have been there so many times. But I'm excited to go back. Well, as you said, excited just to get back on a ship, but to go back and explore some of these different areas. And I know my kids would love to go to the Aquaventure at Atlantis, so I think that's definitely on our bucket list to go to eventually when we get back there.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, I hope that sailing goes on in July for you, but if it doesn't, then I guess you'll be like the rest of us, punting our money down the road to the next one.
I mean, at this point, I'm literally, I don't even know if I want to go at this point just to be a guinea pig, which, I know Chris talked about that on a show. It's like, if you're not okay, wearing a mask on a cruise ship, all that, then don't go. At first I was like, I'm on vacation. I don't know if I want like the COVID protocols to be on cruises too. But I was like, hey, this is new normal. Like, it is what it is. It's new normal. I wear a mask every time I go somewhere. What's a cruise ship to? So
yeah. Yeah, I've been doing it at the airport since last March. So I guess whatever way we can get back to doing something normal rather than being cooped up, I'm all for it.
Exactly. But yeah, nothing. No cruises booked this year. Hoping to get something later in the year, but everything's wait and see at this point. Next year we have Hawaii book. We were supposed to go on Hawaii in 2020, didn't. So we did. We're trying again. Alaska book too. So fingers crossed for those two because we've only been on Caribbean and Bohemian cruises. We're ready for a destination cruise. I know you love your destination cruise.
Yeah. Well, those are two big bucket list cruises too, Hawaii and Alaska, all in one year. So I'm super excited for you guys. Is it the one from Vancouver to Hawaii or back?
Back. So from Hawaii to Vancouver, our thought process was that we don't want to rush the cruise by those first 5 days of like, oh, I'm having fun, but I can't wait to get Hawaii. I can't wait to get Hawaii. And then have the cruise be halfway over by the time you get there. We're like, no, let's get to Hawaii, stay at Aulani for a couple nights, then, then be on the cruise, be exhausted by doing all this stuff, and then have these sea days. And I believe we'll be getting hours back coming from that way. So
it's the other way, but
it's the other way.
What time of the year is it?
That would be in May.
So it'll be a 3-hour time change. So you have to go through three time zones, but I didn't think about it the way you did, but I think I would do it the same way, get the adventures out at the beginning of it and then just relax the 3 days back to Vancouver.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. So, well, Zach, once again, thank you so much for your support of the podcast. Thank you so much for helping us out tonight, talk about NASA. And on behalf of myself and Christy and Chris, just congratulations on the new one that you've added to your family, Ezra, and just all the best to you and the family down there in Atlanta. And we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I really want to thank Zach for coming on and sharing his experiences in NASA all over the island there, going from Atlantis out to the Blue Lagoon, spending time in the casino, of course, the Aqua Venture, just a lot of fun adventures out there. So if you decide to get off the ship next time you're in Nassau, there's a lot of things to do. Well, we will continue our port adventure series next month as we turn to the Mediterranean. We got a great show there where we take a look at a lot of different ports with a family that did the 7-night cruise through the Mediterranean from Barcelona over to Civitavecchia. I'd like to give a huge shout out to everybody who's taken the time to go over to iTunes and leave us a review lately. That really helps us get the show known a little bit better in the Disney cruising, and just the Disney podcasting community in general. If you haven't done so and have time, we sure would appreciate it. Also, if you'd like to support our show, each and every one of our shows is brought to you by our Patreon program. And all of our Patreon members, we thank each and every one of them for helping us helping us bring this show to you each and every week. If you want to find out more about our Patreon program, you can go to patreon.com/DCL podcast and find out all the information there. Well, the Disney Wish sailings are booking up fast. Today, Tuesday, it's DVC members and also Adventures by Disney insiders. And then a huge day tomorrow, Wednesday, as the Silver Castaway Club members get their first shot up at booking the Disney Wish. If you need some help booking the Wish, you can always turn to Christy over at packyourpixiedust.com. You can find out all of her contact information there. She's a valuable resource for a lot of our listeners. So if you're looking to work with a travel agent, you can find all of her information once again over at packyourpixiedust.com. Well, as spring slowly wanes and we start to move into the summer, all of you out there planning vacations, we want to wish you the best. On behalf of myself, Steve, Christy, and Chris, all of us here at the DCL Podcast, we want to wish you and your family safe travels, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.